Welcome aboard this week's podcast of Dudes Dish Disney. Get ready for amazing attractions across America. Beer halls and bar rooms, banquets and beverages, a collection of characters and colleagues.
No cupcakes.
It's Dudes Dishing Disney. This episode of Dudes Dish Disney is sponsored by Magic Vacations. Magic Vacations. Discover the magic of travel. And now your hosts, the dudes of Dudes Dish Disney.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Dudes Dish Disney. Joining us today is our producer and resident tech dude, Figgy Boy.
What's going on, guys?
Also joining us is our co-host, Ryan. He's known as the #1 Disney dude.
Hello, dudes.
And I'm Congo Carl, former Jungle Cruise skipper, and you're not.
Oh boy, again with this.
Hey, I'd like to welcome a very special guest we have this week. Please welcome. He's like one of the family. It's Bob Martin.
What's up, guys?
Hi again, Bob.
I'm like
Hi,
the
Bob.
redhead. I'm the redheaded stepchild of the group. I get it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of still Jonathan, probably, but yeah. Hey, I called you Jonathan instead of Figgy Boy. You got that going for you. Valid. All right. Apparently, we were allowed to lose Jonathan. I think he might be coming after me with a knife later. So,
well, he just has to
Later,
reach
dudes.
behind him in his basement. There's a whole rack of them right there that are kind of mounted to the wall. But hey, this week we have a very special topic going on, and that's why we invited Bob, because Bob has firsthand experienced what we're about to talk about. It's all over the internet. It's very exciting this week. It's, wouldn't be summer and especially July without a retrospective reminiscing of what started it all for us in the travel industry who are celebrating the Disney product line. And that is Disneyland, the OG. 70 years ago this month. Can you believe it? Walt Disney World is celebrating. They got a special celebration going on. Due to my technical difficulties, why don't you just share with us what your experience was from Main Street on in at this magical celebration?
Actually, it starts before you even go into the park. They've erected this metal. Yes, I said erect, but not erection. Come on, you can't wind it up because I'm just going to go
yes,
blooper
you
reel.
can. Yes, you
Okay.
can. You're welcome to.
So it's this big metal structure that sits right between California Adventure and the entrance to the Disneyland park. So it's almost like a metal birthday cake, and it's kind of got the weather vanes or the different original lands of Disneyland are on the top of it, and it's kind of cool and attracts people. But then you step into Main Street in Disneyland. They normally do all the meet and greets for the characters. So the characters have their 70th anniversary costumes on as they do. The biggest thing I think the misstep is, and they haven't said why they don't have it a part of it, the tours from Walt's apartment are gone. There's no tour. I thought they were going to do something special with the 70th anniversary tour and have that be a part of it. Was completely not available to be done. So I'm not sure what that's about. But you have some unique gimmick. I mean, if you have a magic band or you have your card, there's different touch points that you can touch throughout the park, where you'll get special souvenir certificates, like a specific Jungle Cruise ticket. And it'll have, and if you're a Disney Vacation Club member, it'll say, thank you for being a DVC member. If you're lucky enough to be a Club 33 member, it'll say, thank you for being a Club 33 member, or a magic key holder. So, little things here and there that you could take away that are basically free, even though you're paying to be in there. One of the bigger things too is that they do the 70th anniversary tour where it's a walking tour. The two biggest things out of it, really, three big things you get out of it. You get a lightning lane for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. You get a pin that you can only get on that tour. And you get reserved seating for the Paint the Night parade, which has been brought back for the 70th anniversary, which is cool because you're kind of basically in that hub facing the train station, and they give you popcorn. So you're really good bird's eye view. Nobody's in front of you. That's a really good perk, to be honest. Because that parade is so popular, it gets so crowded. People are just, clamoring to be in there. That's a great perk for that. So, I mean, right now they're doing discounts if you're a Disney Visa card holder. You can get it for $20 off or so on and so forth. And then they have their day parade, and it's the earworm is, celebrate happy. And they have the Jonas song playing all over the place. And
the Jonas Brothers, man, it's just not what I pictured my Disney future to look like a long time ago. But, it's okay. Yeah. It's fine. I'm not here to hate on it. It's just when I hear the Jonas Brothers are the selected band to perform special anniversary for Disney, I'm like, all right, whatever.
Well, they've all lost their virginity by now, so they're a little more mature. So
that's true. They're the Jonas Bros now.
Yes. Or hoes, depending on who you talk to.
Depending on perspective, yeah.
I just had this image. I just had this image of, when the original Disneyland opened and the Osmond brothers were at the grand opening, doing a show like 5 years later, and how they were on recurring specials of anniversaries of Disneyland, and just mentally replacing them now with the Joe Bros instead of them. I don't know if it works or not.
The Joe Bro hose?
The Joe Bro hose.
It sounds like a pirate's life. I don't know.
But they, even though 70 years ago it was just the Disneyland park, they have stretched the celebration over into California Adventure as well. Their World of Color water projection is now themed towards the 70th anniversary. It's all about happiness. It's hosted by everybody from Inside Out, so joy and all the different emotions. The cool part is actually bringing the Muppets in. The Muppets did the pre-show, so they set you up and in Muppet fashion do what they do, and that's actually pretty good. And of course they have their, you could do a dessert party for that, but that's not really unique for the 70th anniversary. That's kind of, just for what it is. And then the hotels, all the hotels are done and decorated for the 70th anniversary. Disneyland Hotel is more not family friendly, but more of the animation pieces and stuff. Whereas Grand Californian has these big, like, fancy stone 70th anniversary over the fireplace and things like that. And but there's a little bit of something for everybody. And the merch is ridiculous. Just ridiculous. I mean, it was day 3, and some of the things, like, for me, my big hunt, actually, I have a visual aid. They have these.
You pulled it out from the green screen.
No, you can see it.
Oh, there we go.
It's the 70th anniversary conductor's Mickey's hat. It comes in 2 sizes: small and medium, large and extra large. No larges and extra larges at all. I had to wait for somebody to send this to me, because every time I went in a store, they're like, nope, small and medium. I'm like, does this look like a small and medium head? Does this look like a small and medium head?
Bob, put that on for us. I didn't get the full effect of that.
Move.
That's good. There we go.
Conductor Bob.
Conductor Bob. Better than those
6 trombones. There you go.
Exactly. And then they bring back their nighttime, which is interesting. Is they've been in California and Los Angeles, they don't do fireworks over the castle every night, but for that straight week, in the opening of every night, they did fireworks with the projection show. So we have Tinkerbell flying. They have, the Blue Fairy flies back and forth. Baymax flies back and forth. Different, and it's like, again, you're thinking, it doesn't have the grand scale as projections on Cinderella's castle, but it's still, there's something cool about being there in Disneyland, where kind of you can say Walt literally walked on these streets. Walt touched this.
It's kind of amazing to me because, like, as Disney World fans, like, we almost immediately have to default back to that for us and be like, there's a reason why this is still cool for us. Disneyland fans are like, your parks suck, right? Your parks suck. And it's like, there's no difference in between. But it is very special being there. For any Disney fan, right? If you're just a casual park goer, you may not feel it the same as, one of the four of us would. But and I'm not saying that you won't, right? It's certainly possible that you will too. But for any one of us, there's just that extra aura around it, so having an anniversary like this kind of plays into that. I was there for the 60th anniversary. It was actually my son took his first steps in Disney. I've told that story before, to Winnie the Pooh. It was the 60th anniversary year. It was 10 years ago that we did that. And you're right with everything you're talking about, Bob. Like, the merch is crazy. The decorations are crazy. Everything that they're doing is crazy. What I think is really cool and unique is the things that they've rolled out, as a part of this, that are going to be permanent, that are like, hey, this is like the 70th anniversary stuff, right? That we'll be able to look at back and see. They didn't really do that at the 60th anniversary. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's something I definitely am curious about. And I know that you got to see some of that. Right? You got to see some of that, but maybe not all of it.
Bob, let me ask you. Yeah, I was going to ask you specifically on that before you go generic. Were you able to see the short film played in the Disneyland Theater, The Last Verse, which was a tribute to the Sherman Brothers?
No, it was not there yet. There yet.
Yeah, so that's in there on Main Street Cinema, and they say it's a very heart-tugging little vignette, which talks about the new verse, which was created, or the last verse that was created by Mr. Sherman himself before he passed away, and they've now added to not only the closing show at Small World in Disneyland, but added it to the closing show of Small World in Disney World. And I think, to your point, Ryan, about them adding things and making it consistent, I think it's nice that they're bringing some of that to the East Coast for us, and kind of partaking in that, particularly that. The other one is the East Coast now has a nighttime parade that we've been waiting for forever, and its timing is such, just tributing some of the parades that are in Disneyland. So but to get to Ryan's original question for you, what are some of those types of things that you did experience that you felt were special?
I honestly, it's funny. It's the little things. My head's always on swivel I'm always still looking for Bob Gurr. He's always in the parks, but he's not in the parks when I'm there. And that would be, for me, that 6 degrees of separation from Walt Disney. To talk to somebody who helped shape, who created the Doom buggy. He designed the Doom buggy, and I think that's awesome, and I would pay money to meet that man and just spend time and talk with him. But it was interesting to see. Disneyland is more of a in essence a local park. The locals consider it theirs, so that's why early park admission is really all about the tourists. It really doesn't start to get crazily busy until around 1 or 2, when the local Californians say, "Hey, I think I'm going to go to Disneyland today." And
very LA culture, sure.
Yeah, so you can get a lot of stuff done in by get in at 8, be done by 11 before the crowds get crazy. It's the little things that you see, in the shop windows, but you saw a lot of, I really noticed it, a lot of multi-generational families coming for the 70th, and hearing people talk about, well, when I was my age, this was like this, and this was this. And you actually heard, there were some people, they're just assholes to be assholes in a park, and they don't know jack shit. But to hear other people talk about Walt Disney, and there was a lot more of a conversation about Walt Disney around the people. Even just sitting at some of the restaurants, people would just say, this is amazing that this was Walt Disney. And it brought people to have conversation from different perspectives and hear what they had to say. don't always feel that at Disney World because it's so vast and so large. And, Walt didn't get to see that to fruition. That's more of his brother. But there's just so much. I mean, of course, they have food that they've done that's 70th anniversary inspired, but it's just the aura of it all.
So what's interesting to me is that, like I said, I was there for the 60th, and that, like, now, mind you, change a decade, right? A lot of things change. Economy changes. The way our economy works changes, and maybe that's merch has become way more popular, I feel, in the last 8 years than it ever had been before. But like the 60th anniversary was like mild decorations. I never experienced any of that kind of stuff, I'm curious, just really for the thoughts of the group, the psychology of it. Why do you think the 70th is more impactful? Right? It's 50th I would get, and 100th I would get, 75th even I would get. But like, why do you think the 70th is so impactful?
I think one of the reasons is because of the times we're in right now, and people are really looking to have something to uplift them. It's something that's tried and true for most people that feels like a piece of Americana, and to celebrate that. I really do feel that people are looking for that piece to hold on to during a time. And look, I mean, the whole theme of the 70th anniversary is celebrate happiness, and that kind of is a message that's really resonating with people, whether they realize it or not. But I think people really want, especially. So I'm also going to say this too. The 70th is right now, there's a whole generation who were alive when Disneyland first opened. They saw it open on TV. They were 8 years old. They're pushing 80 now. This is their last kind of chance to embrace something they've known since their childhood while they still can, and share it with other family members.
I didn't think about it from that perspective. I think that's really valid, and actually kind of a sweet, when you realize the concept was exactly for that, right? Yep. The concept was exactly for that. And, I know, Carl, we want to talk about the Walt audio animatronic, right? Which we'll get to in a second, but like reports of that have been that it's literally brought out tears in some people. Now there's been the other side of that. I'll hold off on that for a second, but people literally broke down in tears. And I wonder if that just kind of plays into that, right? Is it's like, you've given me this lifetime of this, and now I can like feel like I'm experiencing something with you.
I want to touch on something that Bob just said that you agreed with or had an epiphany with, Ryan. So, and it tying in. So, Walt's Footsteps tour has been replaced by a 70th celebration tour now. So it is maybe not when you were there, Bob, but it is in place. And
I did it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is okay. You were aware. So
that was the tour that he did. That was the tour that Bob did. He did the 70th tour.
All right. So that 70th tour, did you include a ride on the Mark Twain?
Yes, we did. We rode on the Mark.
And they talked about the significance of that and everything.
They did.
Yeah. So no, don't shake your heads, Ryan, because you're just in agreement about people talking about what was and a bit of Americana and how we're all grasping as a country to go back and grab a little bit of Americana. And so there it is right before you, right? So at the same time that
just looks for any opportunity to get on this soapbox about this damn boat.
At the same time, it's still there in Disneyland is my point. And the point that you guys just made both collectively was it's a time when people are looking towards the past to remember those things. And when you have those things taken away from you with the rest of the complexities of the world that's going on, I think that's why people get emotional about it. It's like, one other thing that's changing in my life that I can't get my arms around or I have no control of, right?
Listen, I don't want to have a whole show about this topic that we've debated 100 times, but I will say, like, it's not totally taken away from you. It's doing what a lot of things do at Disney, where it stays at Disneyland, right? It stays at Disneyland, and Disney World is going to be different.
Right. So but I think that's the way why people are seeking this. I'm not quite in that age group, but I was born after, I was born before Disneyland opened, so I guess I am in that age group. But it's and I was born while Walt was still alive, barely. So I think that, these things that they're doing, right, and bringing back some of that stuff. I just saw a video today of Sherman playing Mary Poppins and Dick Van Dyke singing along with them. So it was Sherman right before he died recently, and Dick is on his way out the door. So those things are all changing.
Make sure you pay attention to every word of this podcast.
You know what? But another, it was kind of a weird situation to see a connection of today and the past. While we were there, the Savannah Bananas did a takeover of Disneyland.
Yeah,
and they did a parade. They closed down the front of the castle and did a whole thing for everybody. The guy on the stilts was there. But it was and they were so entranced in being part of the Disneyland experience. They went on every ride and they filmed themselves on the rides and steeped themselves in the tradition and, brought their blend. So you're talking something so 2025 meshing themselves with, 70 years ago, and people are there for both reasons. And it was kind of cool to see that and see that team pay reverence to Disneyland and what it was and what it meant to them growing up
and
as
the
kids.
Inspiration. Yeah.
You
know what's great is this is another one of those moments, Imagineering, if you're listening, or really anybody at Disney. The Savannah Bananas are expanding into a league. They don't want to be the Globetrotters, right? And I'm only saying that to say this. You have an unused baseball stadium in Orlando, Florida, on Disney property that you could create the Disney team to be in the Savannah Bananas League and have that be their home stadium.
Yep.
And you would get use out of ESPN Wide World of Sports for the first time in a non-cheerleading competition.
I was going to say non-cheerleading wise, yeah.
Right. But just throwing that out there, Disney, if you're listening, sign up a baseball team and have them play out of Kissimmee. That would be cool.
What I did think was interesting that Disney World did for their 50th that Disneyland didn't do as much of was incorporate, like Steakhouse 71 did Walt's favorite breakfast on the menu. And then they did Walt's favorite appetizer was the crab with the saltines and Lillian's favorite salad. So they kind of brought that in Disney World. Did not see that as much in Disneyland to this point. Disneyland Celebration food was more, sugary crap and stuff to sell merch and stuff like that. Whereas I would have expected what Disney World did for Disneyland to do.
So in that defense, the Carnation Cafe on Main Street in Disneyland has always had a Walt special menu item. It's been there forever. So maybe they didn't do it because it's been kind of, what's been going on. But they do have his favorite chili that he used to eat, as one of the items, and a couple other things. So, and Walt was not a foodie. He just wasn't. I mean, he would eat out of, canned food and stuff like that. He was just not the foodie.
The man smoked like a chimney. He had no taste buds.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I applaud Disneyland for, if they ever let people back into tour Walt's apartment, is they've left the ashtrays in there. They have not hidden the fact that he was a big smoker. They let you see the shower where Walt had them put the multiple jets in so it would hit his back because he had such a bad back. They don't whitewash it. It's like he smoked. It's not a secret.
Yep. What's I did a little sleuthing earlier when you brought that up, and actually the plan is to bring it back, and it's only closed for the experiences that they have going on right now. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's super popular. They should have it back, but I thought I'd drop that in there. Also, to touch on the food, little sleuthing, over 70 themed treats and snacks.
Yeah,
right now for the 70th anniversary. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
That's an insane amount of treats and snacks to be theming for a year.
But some of it basically it's the Disney way. It could be something where it was made one color, dessert's one color, but now it's the colors of the 70th anniversary. So that's what they do. But it's they selling merch and selling food. They got to make money at the same time as well as be nostalgic.
There's a long-term debate that the food is superior at Disneyland, right? By a lot of aficionados that talk about the difference, which is amazing because you think about the size and the vastness of Walt Disney World and all the different types of things that they have. You think they would be giving them a run for money, but one of those things that Disneyland constantly wins on surveys and in line for people who've been both is that the quality of the food there for a theme park is a lot more impressive.
And you're right. But where Disney World is superior is Disney World offers a more elevated signature dining experience. There isn't as many quality sit downs within the parks or the hotels in the Disneyland park. Disney World, by the sheer size, blows it out of the water. There's no real equivalent to Narcoossee's. There's no real equivalent to California Grill. You have Carthay Theater. You have a few things here and there, but most of it is character themed. Your big restaurants and the hotels are character themed.
Yeah.
So not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good counterpoint, right? Because it's easier to have more when you're able to focus on so much less. Better quality. You're focusing on so much less, and I still think that that's really debatable. If you really take the top 5 restaurants out of Disney World and pit them up against the top 5 in Disneyland, I don't think it's as much of a blowout as people think it is. Because maybe the top 2 or the top 3, but after that, I think Disney World starts to rebound real fast. That's just me.
I think, but to Carl's point, maybe in the theme, like I think that I don't go to Magic Kingdom to eat in Disney World.
Right.
Disneyland, there's a lot more interesting food and better theme park food than Disney World, in particular if you're matching Disneyland to the Magic Kingdom. And if you're matching, Hollywood Studios to California Adventure, those two are similar in my head the way they are. But you're not going to have the amazing food that you have in Animal Kingdom. That variety, that depth.
Right.
So I mean, to each his own. Again, one's more of a regional park, one's more of a world destination kind of a thing. So that balances itself out.
For sure.
But if anybody can, they're running ticket specials now for people to their 70th anniversary. It's not much of a discount, but I've had clients go and we've done it, and it saved them maybe a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there.
Yeah,
they do want you to come.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, anybody that's listened to us, because I think the majority of our listeners are probably East Coast, right? So. Especially these days, I think we pissed off all the West Coast listeners early on. But these days, and I would say, like, I tell every single one that books with me, like, if you enjoy your time at Disney World, you absolutely have to do Disneyland. Absolutely have to.
The fact that Disneyland, once you're there, you don't have to worry about getting on a bus, a monorail, a boat, a Skyliner. You're just walking.
Yeah. Monorail is purely for your own enjoyment if you want to.
And the amount of scooters are a lot less out in Disneyland than they are in Disney World.
Yeah.
You're not worried about
it. It's a bit more narrow, though, in the pathways, especially in Disneyland. Yeah.
This is true. It's true. But, each land has its own celebration for the 70th anniversary, whether it be a food item or some sort of an overlay. One of the things they did do is it was an easy lift in California Adventure, in Midway Mania. All the targets were 70th anniversary target type things. So you're celebrating it that way. That's an easy enough replacement to do. Mm-hmm. I think there was a little bit of 70th anniversary at the end of there. It's a Small World. So, makes sense. It's part of who it is and what they are.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I would go back tomorrow. I'd be there tomorrow.
So,
Excellent.
go ahead, Carl.
Yeah. So the other piece of this is, they did a first. The man who had the envision for audio animatronics, and they've had lots of content and guidance, including his actual voice. They made part of this story, and they made an audio animatronic of Walt. Now, none of us have seen it live. I've seen the full version several times from different angles on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever your opinion is, it's all over the internet. People are very opinionated on it either way or another, right?
Shocking.
Yeah. So
Disney people an opinion, really. I want
Right.
no wonder.
So, but let's start with his family, right? Because when it first came out, the family was divided amongst themselves. The remaining descendants of Walt were divided for and against it, right? And I don't know who was for and who was against, but there was a division within the family about doing it. And after the debut of it, all the press came out and said the family was touched and they did a wonderful job of it. So there was that division that existed on the concept of doing it seems to have disappeared amongst the family now that the final product is. Have you folks read or found anything different than that? That the family's now a little bit more united behind this than they were prior to it?
I honestly didn't dig that deep into it to begin with. If I'm being totally honest
Honestly,
with you.
same here. That was not the area that I was that thoroughly concerned with. Seeing the animatronic, honestly, after the first time, I was like, okay, that's pretty decent. It's a good job for what they did. I mean, 5 years ago, trying to accomplish something like that, I don't really think we would have been there as if like how we are today with technology. But I give Imagineering props for that. I mean, I know there's a lot of people on the other end that no matter what you do, they're just going to be grumpy. They're going to be pissy. They're going to moan about it. So honestly, those people, screw off.
Hey,
say it right here.
Carl is sitting right here, John. He's sitting
Oh, in
right
that case, go to hell,
You know.
Carl.
So,
So
once again, you're stereotyping me.
I'm just kidding.
By the way,
Oh, here comes the riverboat.
I'm kinda, after 5 years, kind of sick of the stereotypes I get from you jamokes because it's not really that bad. You guys already know my opinion on this is positive, and for you guys to say this is,
You're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
So, but
I'm sorry.
let me put it in a
Hurt.
context. Let me put it in a context, right? So, this is the first audio animatronic that has ever been made by, as you guys described, the generation kind of celebrating by people, including maybe people who used to work for Disneyland 50 years ago or 70 years ago, or people like Bob Gurr, there's people alive on this planet that actually met and knew Walt, his family, etc. Right? So this is the first time that it has happened. When you go back to the first audio animatronic, it was Lincoln, right? And they made it in 1960 something for the World's Fair. In 1964, there was nobody alive that still remembered Lincoln and said, "Oh, I saw Lincoln, and that's no Lincoln, Mr. Disney." No, there was no one along to do that. So I think that's just a difference in the experience right now, is that you have some people. The other component of that is that when they made Lincoln, right, and anyone who had a reference of Lincoln was looking at very early photographs that weren't very sophisticated. They were black and white. They were, freeze frame tintyped, and so the quality of that too. Fast forward to the making of Walt Disney, there is content galore on him in black and white, in color. He was in your living room every weekend for years and years and years. So people had a visual reference, even if they didn't meet him, to be able to look at that and say, okay, this is what the guy looked like. So I have something to compare this new technology against, right? So I just wanted to point that out because I think this is a first, right? So it's going to go under some scrutiny because there's a litmus test for it to pass. that never existed. Nobody wrote Pirates of the Caribbean and said, oh, that doesn't look like, Jean Lafitte, because there was no existence of that. Now, okay, you want to go into the Pirates, you could say, okay, well, Johnny Depp is a real person and they made it. Yeah, but it was a character of Johnny Depp. It was Johnny Depp in that role, in that character. It wasn't trying to look like Johnny Depp. It was trying to look like his character in the movie, right? So this is the first time that some, other than Lincoln, they tried to replicate a real person that did exist. And it's the only time they've done that with something that is referenceable and comparable. So I'm not giving, I'm just pointing that out. I'm not giving a break to the criticism. I'm just pointing out what's different in this experience for people who are going through it compared to other times when they've come up with some wonderful technology on these audio animatronics.
Well, I hurt Carl's feelings, so I do have to step in and say that when it first came out and we were all bracing for what was about to be said, Carl started to go off and I was like, I don't want to hear this. And he actually came back right away and said, I think it looks great. So, Carl, I apologize for misrepresenting you to the people. But he did from day one say he thought it looked great.
Yeah, that conversation, when our chat with that conversation was happening, I was traveling one of the rare times for work. Seeing that, I was like, "Oh, here we go. Let me pull a seat up at the bar. Let's get myself enjoying." And then he's like, "No, I'm pleasantly surprised." I was like, frig! There goes my chance to get a good afternoon of hearing Carl rant.
Yeah. What did John just say? He was going to get himself?
He was going to get himself. I think he stopped himself from saying get himself some because this is being recorded and we don't want his wife to hear it.
I thought he was going to say
you don't know about those road trips.
Whoa, no.
But you know what? This is a great example. For me, I value more what Carl says because nobody break down on that, but it's true because Carl's got he's got no agenda with his point of view. It's a purist point of view. A lot of these people who are barking at the moon are like 23-year-olds content creators who all they want are clicks. So they put up, what did they do to Walt? And then you have to click because that's how they get money. They're not really, they don't give a rat's ass, to be honest. This is just a way of revenue for who they are, what they are. And then other people are just, like John alluded to, are assholes to be assholes. Jesus himself could walk on that stage and hug that animatronic and say, this is wonderful. And people would still have a problem. It's just human nature. And I'm going to, what I've seen in video is one thing. When I see it in person and what it does to me emotionally, seeing that and the closest to what Walt would be in a present, it's going to be a totally different experience.
I had a rep in my day job back in the day. He used to say that guy wouldn't pay 10 cents to watch Christ ride a unicycle. And that's exactly what I feel about some of these people, right? They don't care. They wouldn't pay a nickel for it, right? But you're right, Bob. They're driving content. Negativity sells.
Yeah. And by the way, this process of being critical, I'll take it back, has been consistent. When there was more recent versions of presidents, all the way from Kennedy forward in the Hall of Presidents, somebody was always saying it doesn't look like them, or they did a great job with Nixon. He looks plastic like he looked in real life. They're always making a comment one way or another on someone they could currently relate to, right? Nobody made a comment on American Adventure on Mark Twain because nobody knew Mark Twain. No one saw Mark Twain. And again, he came from that other area, or George Washington, right? In those events. So I think it's just a phenomenon we see because we have a point of reference, and the Disney fans are going to this, chronological data repository, seeing everything now, pulling every other vision of Walt and every angle and saying, they got this angle right, but they got that right angle wrong. His chin's right, but his eyebrows are right. No, what are you talking about? His eyebrows are wrong and his ears are correct. So they're just really tearing this apart. And not what it is. They're also reporting on the audio. And it was my understanding that they were using his actual audio and his words. So maybe you got to include the quality of the audio, but how can you criticize it if it was really his recording? It's him, speaking. So, and I think that lends some authenticity. I don't know of any other audio animatronic that's been built that you're actually using the words. Well, again, the Hall of Presidents, they record speech, right? But something like this, to go back into an archive and grab these words from Walt and marry them to the gestures. But they're being so critical as to even saying, where the logo was on his tie in real life versus on the audio. I mean, like you say, who cares, right? But it's what I'm not clear of, and Bob, you haven't seen it yet, and I'm not sure of, did they keep the Lincoln in the show too and add Walt to it? They did. Good.
Yes, because if you look at the marquee, it's both part of it. They're not.
That's great.
And the in the movie piece of leading up to the animatronic, it is narrated by Bob Iger.
Right. Okay.
But I think what we're kind of touching on here is there's different levels of Disney fans or Disney truists. There's Disney's truists. There's people who want to be Disney fans just to say they're Disney fans, and they're all converging on Disneyland for their 70th. And it's by the nature in which they've come to this happy place, is how they interpret it. And if you're a 20-year-old, you're all about putting on the ears, and you're all about what's the word, Disney bounding and shit like that. That's great. You do you, but it doesn't change my experience, and it doesn't change how I look at it, because it's a different lens. But don't use your lens to try to shut mine. And I won't do yours. I'll just ignore your assholishness. You go over there. I am going to, try to be as respectful to a place that was built with great intention to bring families together, to bring a little happiness into the darkness of the world. And it continues to do that as the times change. Things are never going to be complete in Disney World or Disneyland. But Disneyland will always, I think, still be that baseline that all other Disney parks are held the standard to. Some of the newer ones in the other countries are going to be more technologically sound. Disneyland is going to be the one that has the most nostalgia going forward.
Yeah, as well it should. And, I actually like that as a concept for a business model, right? Because it forces people to go there to see that stuff, right? You're not going to get the same experience everywhere else. However, they're still doing the opposite, where they're taking like Ratatouille and putting it in 3 different places, or Tron and putting it in 2 different, what I mean? So, but yeah, I think Disneyland should be the truest point of it. I think the 70 years of that is amazing, and I agree. Let's all just enjoy it the way we want to enjoy it, whether there's a riverboat there or not.
Yep. Wow, Ryan, really?
I do. The stone cold reaction from Carl is priceless.
Carl has a gash across his chest, and you're pouring salt, like big pounds of salt on it. Come on.
Yeah, I got a whole dump truck of salt for Carl's gash.
Bob, I'm so glad that we invited you on to participate in this discussion, because you really bring a perspective to it that was elegantly said and needed to be said. So we thank you. We always know you're a great addition to the show, because I don't know what these fucks are going to say. So appreciate it. And with that in mind, the last thing I will point out to everyone is, please, there are some special packages, some special rates, some special tickets, some special celebrations. Please contact your MVP of choice, including Bob Martin, and book that trip to Disneyland and have a magical day. And until you do book that trip, later, dudes.
Hey, John, play the Jonas Brothers version of our exit song, please. Thanks. Later, dudes.
I will have to figure that one out and get there. Later, dudes.
Later, dudes.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Dudes Dish Disney. Please check us out on social media, on Facebook at Dudes Dish Disney,
On Instagram at Dudes Dish Disney.
On X at Disney_Dish. Please check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe at Dudes Dish Disney.
Please visit our sponsor, Magic Vacations, at magicvacations.net. More than just a travel agency, Magic Vacations has over 60 Magic Vacation planners committed to bringing you white glove concierge service. Using a Magic Vacation planner allows you to spend more time making memories and less time worrying about the details. For all of your Disney, Universal, cruise, and global travel, go to magicvacations.net. Magic Vacations. Discover the magic of travel.